YouTube, what's up? It's your boy Nigel coming back at y'all with yet another video. And yes, you saw the title. Is the housing market gonna crash? Let's figure out. So there's a lot of talk going around right now. Is the housing market gonna crash? I know a lot of people feel like the housing market's overpriced and the housing market absolutely has to come down. There's a lot of opinions out there, but I want to get straight to the facts. So I'm going to give you all the data and the statistics to figure out ourselves, is the housing market actually going to crash in the future? Let's go. Now, ultimately, housing prices are a game of supply and demand. As you know, if there's more demand in the market for houses, then the housing prices will go up. If there's less demand, then the housing prices will go down. Now, there's 5 main factors that I'm going to talk about in this video that's going to play a huge role in whether the prices go up or down, and I'm going to get right into it. The first factor I want to talk about is softening of housing prices. Now, this can come from a multitude of reasons, but the main reasons I'm going to focus on is, one, people predicting a crash. They're getting kind of nervous. They don't want to lose their money because they feel like the houses are going to actually lose value later on in time, so they kind of hold out in the market. And the second big factor that affects softening of house prices is lower demand in general. And when I'm talking about this, I'm more so speaking on the terms of people can't afford a house, so they just have to wait until prices go down to where it could actually be in their budget for them to start purchasing once again. Now, in this chart I'm going to show right now, we have the price to median household income ratio. Basically, this chart is actually saying that as far as housing prices go compared to people's ratio of income, this is how much they can actually afford. As you can see, the housing bubble was in 2008. There's a huge spike up, looking very bullish. The graph is looking very bullish. And then it drops right down in 2008. As you can see, also noting that in 2022, we're at the highest level that we've been for this ratio right now. So what I'm looking at, I'm seeing that right now, a lot of people can't afford houses in general. This is obviously going to lower the demand in the market, but there's a lot of factors that actually factored into why this happened. One of the reasons is we had 0% interest rates where people were just buying like crazy and they could afford a house that they once couldn't afford at one point, and now they're just starting to buy. This might start causing foreclosures, but we're going to get in that a little bit later. But as far as I can see from the graph, I think that having overpriced houses right now can be a big factor in the way that the housing market could actually crash if it does happen. The second thing, which is a major factor in the housing crash, is the rate of foreclosures. Now, I'm about to pull up a graph right now. This graph is from 2005 to 2021. We haven't got the full official 2022 data yet, so I'm just going straight off of 2021. Obviously, 2022 won't be that far off from 2021. Right now, the 2021 foreclosure rate is 0.11%, which is extremely low compared to the rate in 2008, 2009, and 2010, which is when the housing crash was going down. We're almost a whole 2 percentage points away from actually being that high in foreclosures. I highly doubt that we'll see that many foreclosures to where we get into even the 1% range. At the rarest, we might get back into like the 0.5 range at most. So right now, looking at foreclosures, it's again highly unlikely that we're going to see a lot of foreclosures that could really push this market to start falling. So I say, as far as foreclosures go, it's going to have a very low impact on the market overall. So I wouldn't expect anything like that to make a huge change in the price. Now again, with interest rates becoming more affordable because of the COVID crash, it being at 0%, there can be a lot of people that might be a little bit over leveraged in the market and might have to actually go into foreclosure, but I don't think it's going to have that big of an impact. But I'm sure there's people out there and we're going to see foreclosure rates go up just a little bit, probably not to 2008 rates, but I do expect to see foreclosures to go up just a tad bit. The next factor, and the third factor we have that will impact the housing crash, is interest rates. As you can see, the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates as we speak. The last hike we had was 75 basis points. Chances are the next time they come on to speak, it's probably going to be either another 75 basis points or 50 basis points at least. So with that being said, we are going to see interest rates go up. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes back up to the 2008 levels. As you can see with this chart, the yearly open for the 2008 crash was 3.9% interest rates, and obviously it closed a little bit lower because they were trying to ease the market. So it closed at 2.3% interest rate. Right now we're at 1.75. If they keep on giving us rate hikes right now, obviously we could get to that level very fast, very quickly. So even by the end of the year, we might even be there. You never know. If they feel like we need to do this to fight inflation, we could definitely be there. So I say interest rates would definitely cause people to have a little bit more fear in the market and be less likely to buy a house. And this could also be a factor towards actually having a housing crash. The fourth factor we have is the economic downturn. Now, again, I love my charts. We're popping up another chart right here. Right here, it shows unemployment rates throughout the years. As you can see, it says that unemployment rates actually it wasn't in the graph, but the unemployment rates in 2022 is currently at 3.6%. Also in 2008, this is when the housing crash actually happened, unemployment rates were at 7.3%. Due to COVID, it was a little bit higher in 2020, but it seems like it's lowering a lot. I think everybody knows in general we have more of a problem with jobs actually not being able to find workers versus workers not being able to find a job. So I really don't think that this unemployment rate is going to raise to any concerning level to where people are starting to lose their jobs and everything. So I really wouldn't expect that to get all the way back up to 7.3% at all. So I don't think that unemployment is going to be a factor at all. Now, one thing I do want to factor in is inflation. Back in 2008, inflation was at 0.1%. So there was barely any inflation at all. And now in 2022, we're looking at a projected 9% inflation rate, which is absolutely crazy. Obviously, if the inflation is that high, it's going to make houses a lot more unaffordable, leaving families to decide, I can't afford a house right now, so let me chill on the market and not buy right now. I think that is going to be a factor, but unemployment is obviously it's out of the question. So that's like a half point for economic downturn that could be a factor of the housing market crash. Now, for the last graph, we have excessive inventory. Now, everybody knows part of the reason why the housing prices have gone up is because people have been going into straight up bidding wars to actually buy a house. It's actually ridiculous. They'll have a set price. They'll have a retail price of, let's say, $300,000. By the time you start bidding, you can buy a house for up to $400,000. It was absolutely crazy. As you can see in this graph, the inventory is going up right now, but compared to the 2008 levels, it's absolutely no comparison for the inventory. We're about like 60% down from the actual inventory that was in 2008 or even more. I'm not doing the math right now, but it seems pretty close to that. So there's almost absolutely no way that we're going to actually see an excess of houses to that level. But at the same time, looking at this 1 year graph, you could see it climbing again. You could see kind of the pandemonium was in like January. You could see there was like no housing available, and you could see the graph climbing. I still expect to see the graph still climbing with a lot of production issues being solved and people having to pay less now. Lumber prices are calming down, so builders are getting a little bit more comfortable with actually building houses and getting it out to the people. I do expect to see that rise, but not to the rate where we're going to have some pandemonium to where we actually see housing prices drop like 30%, 40% nationwide. So that's my opinion. You could take it how you want it, but I just can't see the graph climbing that high. And that's the last factor. Now, in my opinion, with the data that we just looked at, I honestly think that the housing market has a potential to drop a little bit, but with the data, I have no evidence to suggest that it's actually going to fully crash like it did in 2008. I know a lot of people are expecting that. They're waiting. I heard a lot of people are actually selling their homes and waiting for the prices to drop like crazy. I don't think it's going to drop a crazy amount. I don't think it's going to really rise anymore for a couple years. I feel like it's probably going to drop. I looked on Zillow. You could look on Redfin. It seems like a lot of housing prices, at least in my location, are starting to drop. I see $10,000, $25,000, even $75,000 drops on housing prices. But I don't see that happening to like severe degree where we're having like 50% sales, 40% sales, everybody's going crazy. I don't expect that. What I would say is, this is just in my opinion, if you are waiting to buy a house, I would say wait a little bit more, be patient, look at how the economy is actually looking, seeing what the projections are, looking at this data just like I looked at a little bit later on to see and kind of project a little bit. Nobody can tell the future, but you could project a little bit. You might be able to put yourself in a better situation to buy a house that's at a fairer value than what it is right now. But overall, patience is the game. If you want to buy a house, you can't go wrong. Just exercise a little bit of patience and you'll be all right. Trust me, you might become a homeowner. But if you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button. I'm coming out with more content every single week, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Don't forget to share my content if you think any of this was helpful. I appreciate y'all for watching the video, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.